Shalom. This week's Sedra is Dvar Torah Mishpatim, and also Parsha Shkolim. Sedra is Dvar Torah Mishpatim. It's a different Sedra than the type we've seen until this point. Until this point, we've seen a lot of stories. Up until last week's crescendo, seeing Har Sinai, when we got the Torah. This week, we switched tacks a little, and there's no more stories. This week's Parsha really stays away from the storytelling and concentrates on Torah law, on halacha, and in particular in the civil matters. It's a very interesting and intriguing Sedra. It could also be a little intimidating. But for those lawyers out there, or even just the fans of law and order out there, you'll really find this Sedra interesting. Don't waste your time this Shabbat. Take out Chumash, maybe with Rashi's commentary, and go through the laws. Rashi's commentary is especially telling this week because most of the comments that he makes come straight from the Gemara and tell straight out the background to the halachos that are listed in this week's Sedra. It's an exciting one, and please, this Shabbat, take advantage of the time. Spend your time learning the Parsha well. As the Parsha starts off, we have to take a step back and remember the 10 Commandments last week. A couple of those commandments, let's say the prohibitions against murder and the prohibition against kidnapping, seem to us what we would call natural law, obvious laws that any civilized society would set up. My question is, why is it that the Torah felt the need to list these as part of the commandments? In other words, society would have had them anyway, so why list them in the Torah? We never really find a civilized society that permits kidnapping or permits murder. All these laws seem a bit extraneous to be listed into our Torah, especially a Torah that guards each and every word that it writes very, very carefully. The question really has an assumption to it, and it stems into this week's Sedra as well as civil law. We can really ask the same question. Why does the Torah feel the need to list all civil law? Right? These are laws that we would come up to as a society in any case. The answer really is that we have to examine our assumption. In asking the question of why the Torah needs to list obvious laws, we're really saying that the Torah should only list laws that are not obvious, novel ideas, new ideas. And the only reason why we would think that is because we would think the Torah should be a religious work solely, not having anything to do with civil law, only religious law. All of those assumptions are really misconceptions, and they're incorrect. The Torah really is a guide to creating the perfected man, the perfected individual. And the perfected individual has to see his life reflected as perfect in every area of life. And if the Torah is going to be a guide in totality, it has to list even the obvious laws. And that's why the Torah will come to list a law prohibiting murder, even if we would have come up to it on its own. The perfected man does not involve himself in murder, and therefore the Torah has to teach us that. And that's really the idea behind all of Dvar Mishpatim. All of Dvar Mishpatim is really coming to tell us the idea that the Torah interacts with every aspect of our life. It's applicable nowadays just as it was thousands of years ago. That's the excitement of the Torah. The Torah is alive today as it was back at Har Sinai. And the Torah is telling us that every aspect of our life, whether it's in the boardroom, the game room, or even the bedroom, the Torah has something to say. And the Torah is going to guide us to the perfected lifestyle in all of those areas. This Shabbat, let's examine our lives in light of this idea and see where it is that we're allowing the Torah in and where we're not bringing it in when it really should be. Shabbat Shalom.